Barry Bryson here. Thank you for joining me for another 5 good minutes with the Word. We finished last time looking at the Psalms, not quite finished, looking at the Psalms by the others, people whose names are attached to songs who are not David, Asaph, or anonymous. And most of those songs were by the sons of Korah. And the last two songs by the sons of Korah have names attached to them, Heman and Ethan. And Heman in Psalm 88 wrote a song in which he said, to God, you are the cause of all my troubles. When are you going to listen to me and fix this? And that's all it said. That is all it said. But we said Psalm 89 was a reply. And it is, because it is also a cry for help, written, I think, much later. I think it's a formal song. I think it's a song of national renewal, but it answers this impulse in Psalm 88 to blame God when we cry for help, and to basically say, I'm okay. When are you going to do it? I'm waiting. I'm waiting. You told me you'd help. When are you going to fix this? And in this psalm, we do have a cry for help, but it's after the exile. I think this was probably written during those days that we read about in Nehemiah, when they're trying to rebuild and the people around them are making it so hard, and that we read about in Ezra and in the post-exilic prophets, where the people um, a level of malaise has set in. They've stopped. They're starting to get sloppy in their observances, and so we this psalm was 52 verse psalm was not only written as a reminder of God's promise and keeping His promise, of God's greatness, of the eternality of David's throne. That doesn't necessarily have to be kept in 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 um, in sinful kings, because there will be a Messiah later on. But there is also this reminder that we have to maintain our righteous relationship with God, because He will bring consequences to bear upon us, and they're experiencing some of those consequences. And so He's asking God to do something about it. He is crying for help. Um, and he's asking for God's former loving kindness. Now in Psalm 89, we don't have any of that. 88, excuse me. We don't have any of that. It's not like Psalm 22. Oh God, oh Lord, my God, why have you forsaken me? Which continues to remember God's prior deliverance, and then in the end expects God's future deliverance. That's not in Psalm 88, but it's here in Psalm 89. Psalm 89 ends with Ethan saying, Blessed be Yahweh forever. It begins by saying, I will sing of the loving kindness of Yahweh forever. And it ends by saying, Blessed be Yahweh forever. So Ethan, who's writing this song, like the God he serves, is keeping his promise. And he expects God to keep his promise. But he's also coming before the throne of God to find grace to help in time of need. Hebrews chapter 4. And he's speaking on behalf of the people, and they have need. Whatever we need to do for you to return your favor to us in the moment, then we need to do that. We need to do it now, because we need your salvation now. Okay. I didn't want to take those extra 4 minutes yesterday. It's one thing for me to say it's 5 good minutes and to take 10. It's another to take 15. I mean, I do have some standards. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this study. I just loved it. I loved it so much. Um, the Psalm 90 is such an important psalm, the one by Moses, and we got the chance to look at it in connection with the Psalms of David. The two Psalms by Solomon, the one that we know clearly is Solomon, Psalm 127. And then the earlier Psalm that may be David's, it's kind of a prayer for Solomon as he begins his reign. It's clear whether the superscription says a song for Solomon or a song to Solomon or of Solomon by Solomon. That's such an interesting piece and a uplifting piece. But then all those songs by the sons of Korah and the great variety, they are not David's songs. Um, we're not looking at Johann Sebastian Bach. We're looking at C.P.E. Bach, and yet we're listening to composers who have their moments. And really, we're not even listening to C.P.E. Bach. We're listening to Aaron Copland. Somebody whose songs are much more straightforward and easier to comprehend and to make our own, and yet achieve such moments of beauty and depth of theology. I loved going back and looking at the songs of the Sons of Korah as the songs of the Sons of Korah, and I hope you did too. And I hope you'll go back and look at them again and again, um, in just that way, um, and meditate upon them as David claims he does on your bed at night. Okay, well, that brings this study to a close. When we get together next time, we're going to start a study of the Gospel of Luke. In our 5, 6 years, 7 years of doing this, we've only studied one Gospel from beginning to end, verse by verse, and that was the Gospel of Mark. Although we spent a lot of time in the Gospels, and we're gonna look at Luke, which, in terms of just the number of words, is the longest of the four. In fact, the person who, in terms of numbers of words, wrote more of the New Testament than anyone else is Luke, because Luke Acts together is longer than all of John's writings put together, or all of Paul's writings put together. Luke Acts is the longest chunk of scripture in the New Testament. So we're going to look at the book of Luke, the Gospel of Luke, next time, and we'll start introducing it. We're going to take 2 or 3 sessions to introduce it before we get into the first verse. Any time we spend in the gospel is time spent with Jesus, which is the best possible way to spend your time. So, looking forward to that. And we'll pick up in the Gospel of Luke next time. Thank you for joining me for another 5 good minutes with the Word.